Barack Obama's reflection on the power of human connection and empathy stands as one of the most emotional moments in his speech. He reminds the audience that true leadership has never been about authority or control. It has always been about the heart. He speaks from a place of deep humility, recalling times during his presidency when he faced the pain of others face to face. Whether it was consoling the families of shooting victims, visiting communities devastated by disaster, or listening to people who felt forgotten, Obama explains how those moments taught him that empathy is not a political strategy but a human necessity. He believes that progress is impossible when we forget how to care for one another. Through his soft but powerful words, he calls for a renewal of compassion, urging people to listen more and judge less, to understand that everyone is fighting a battle that may not be visible to others. Obama's tone throughout this segment becomes deeply personal as he shares what it means to feel the weight of people's pain while still offering them hope. He says that it is easy to turn away from suffering because it can be overwhelming, but the strength of a nation lies in its ability to face that pain together. He recalls meeting parents who had lost their children and describes how he could see both heartbreak and courage in their eyes. Those experiences, he admits, shaped him more than any political success ever could. He emphasizes that empathy is not weakness. It takes great strength to remain open-hearted in a world that often rewards indifference. Obama speaks with emotion, his voice carrying both sorrow and warmth, reminding everyone that compassion can unite people across all differences of race, religion, and background. He goes on to say that empathy must begin in our daily lives, in how we treat our neighbors, colleagues, and even strangers. Every act of kindness, he suggests, becomes a small ripple that can grow into a wave of positive change. He challenges the audience to choose empathy as a guiding principle, especially when it is hardest to do so. In his words, love is the most powerful weapon against hate, and understanding is the first step toward healing. By the end of this point, Obama leaves listeners not just inspired but deeply moved, understanding that the strength of humanity lies in its ability to feel for others and to act with compassion even when the world feels divided. Barack Obama's heartfelt message about gratitude and remembering those who make quiet sacrifices forms one of the most touching parts of his emotional speech. He begins by acknowledging that the true heroes of society are not always the ones who stand in the spotlight, but those who serve silently, giving their time, energy, and love without expecting anything in return. He speaks about teachers who dedicate their lives to shaping young minds, nurses who work long nights to save lives, and parents who sacrifice their own comfort so their children can have a better future. Obama's voice softens as he reminds the audience that progress has always been built on the shoulders of ordinary people, doing extraordinary things out of care, duty, and compassion. He explains that gratitude is more than just saying thank you. It is about recognizing the invisible efforts that hold the world together. He then turns his focus to the value of appreciation in personal life. He describes how, in moments of difficulty, it is easy to take for granted the people who stand by us, the friend who listens, the mentor who believes in us, or the stranger who offers help when we least expect it. Obama shares that during his years in public service, he often found hope not in grand speeches, but in these quiet gestures of goodness that reminded him of the strength and decency within people. His words carry a mix of humility and emotion as he encourages everyone to pause and think about those who made a difference in their lives. Gratitude, he says, is the bridge that connects hearts, breaks barriers, and reminds us that no one succeeds alone. He continues by emphasizing that gratitude also fuels responsibility. When we appreciate what others have done for us, we feel inspired to give back, to continue the chain of kindness and service. Obama points out that the world becomes a better place not through individual success, but through collective effort rooted in appreciation. By showing gratitude, We honor the past and empower the future. His words resonate deeply as he expresses thanks to those who often go unnoticed: workers, caregivers, soldiers, and community builders who keep the nation strong. The audience feels the sincerity in his tone, realizing that gratitude has the power to heal divisions and remind people of their shared humanity. Obama concludes this part of his speech by urging everyone to make gratitude a daily practice, because when we recognize the good in others, we help bring out the best in ourselves. In this part of his speech, Barack Obama turns his attention to the themes of loss and resilience, speaking with a raw emotional honesty that resonates deeply with the audience. He begins by acknowledging that every person at some point faces pain, disappointment, or heartbreak. Life, he says, is filled with moments that test our strength and faith, moments that make us question whether we can keep moving forward. Obama shares stories of families who have lost loved ones, individuals who have struggled through tragedy, and communities that have had to rebuild after devastating events. Yet, despite the sorrow, what stands out to him most is the incredible courage people find within themselves to rise again. He calls this the essence of the human spirit, the ability to endure suffering and still choose hope over despair. As he speaks, his tone softens and the room grows still. Obama reflects on his own experiences of meeting people whose resilience humbled him, parents who lost children to violence but turned their grief into movements for change, workers who lost jobs but found new paths through perseverance, and citizens who refused to give up on their dreams even in the darkest times. These stories, he says, remind him that strength does not mean the absence of pain, it means finding meaning through it. He emphasizes that pain, when met with courage, becomes a powerful teacher, shaping character and revealing what truly matters in life. Obama's words bring tears to many eyes because they speak to a universal truth. No one is spared from hardship, but everyone has the power to rise above it. He continues by explaining that resilience is not about pretending to be strong all the time. It's about acknowledging the hurt and choosing to move forward anyway. He urges people not to see failure as an end, but as a chance to begin again with greater wisdom. The most powerful nations, communities, and individuals, he says, are not defined by how they fall, but by how they stand back up. Obama's message becomes both comforting and empowering, reminding everyone that even after deep loss, there is still life, love, and purpose waiting to be found. He concludes this part with quiet strength, saying that every scar tells a story of survival, and those stories are what make humanity beautiful. The audience is left inspired, understanding that resilience is not a distant ideal. It is something each of us carries within our hearts. Barack Obama's discussion on legacy in his emotional speech carries a deep and reflective tone that touches every listener. He begins by asking the audience to think about what they will leave behind, not in terms of wealth or status, but in terms of values, kindness, and the impact they have on others. He reminds everyone that life moves quickly, and titles or achievements may fade, but the way we treat people endures forever. Obama speaks openly about his own reflections as a leader and as a father, admitting that he often wonders whether he has lived up to the ideals he once spoke about. He says legacy is not built in grand moments or public victories, but in the quiet decisions made every day, when we choose honesty over convenience, love over anger, and compassion over indifference. His words carry humility and a sense of moral responsibility, encouraging people to live in a way that makes the world slightly better for those who come after them. He continues by explaining that every action, no matter how small, leaves an imprint. A kind word, a helping hand, or an act of forgiveness can change the course of someone's life. Obama emphasizes that true greatness is not about being remembered by millions, but by being remembered kindly by a few whose lives were touched by your goodness. He draws parallels between personal and national legacy, saying that just as individuals must ask what mark they will leave, so too must a nation ask how it will be remembered, by the justice it stood for, the compassion it showed, and the opportunities it gave its people. His message grows emotional as he reflects on the fragility of time, urging the audience to make every day count by living with purpose and integrity. Obama also reminds listeners that legacy is not only about the past, it is something we shape continuously through our choices. Even when we make mistakes or fall short, he says, we can still correct our path and rebuild our name through sincerity and courage. He admits that no one's legacy is perfect, but what matters is striving to leave behind hope rather than regret. His voice carries warmth and authenticity as he concludes this reflection by saying that a meaningful life is not measured by how long it lasts, but by how deeply it touches others. By the end, the audience feels both introspective and uplifted, reminded that each of them has the power to create a legacy of love, honesty, and humanity that outlives them. In the final part of his emotional speech, Barack Obama focuses on hope and unity, delivering words that move the audience to tears. He speaks from the heart, acknowledging the pain, division, and uncertainty that often define the world, but insists that there is still a light strong enough to overcome the darkness. Obama reminds everyone that the power to heal a broken society does not lie only in the hands of leaders or governments. It lies within ordinary people who choose to act with love and kindness. He emphasizes that no matter how divided communities may seem, unity is possible when people recognize their shared humanity. He speaks with calm conviction, saying that love is not a weakness but the most powerful force for change. His message transcends politics. It becomes a universal call for compassion and understanding in a world desperate for both. He recalls moments from his presidency when the country was grieving, uncertain, or angry, and how even then he witnessed people come together to help one another. Those moments, he says, gave him faith in the goodness that still exists in people's hearts. Obama explains that hope is not blind optimism or denial of reality. It is the courage to believe in a better tomorrow even when today feels unbearable. He tells the audience that every act of kindness, no matter how small, adds light to the world. Whether it's comforting someone in pain, standing up for what's right, or forgiving someone who has hurt us, these are the acts that restore humanity's faith in itself. The room grows silent as his words sink in, carrying both sadness and beauty in their truth. He goes on to challenge everyone listening to become that source of light for others. He says that hope cannot survive without action, and unity cannot exist without understanding. Obama urges people to break free from fear and hatred, to see beyond race, religion, or status, and to recognize that we are all connected by the same desire for peace and dignity. His tone becomes deeply emotional as he speaks about love as the legacy we should all aim to leave behind. He ends with a quiet but powerful reminder that no matter how dark the world may seem, one person's compassion can spark 1,000 more. The audience feels the depth of his sincerity, understanding that Obama's final message is a call to believe again, in hope, in love, and in each other.